everybody, it's Nicole. While I was on my trip to LA and Vegas, I had my first Uber ride experience, and I've always been like nervous to try Uber, and I finally went ahead and took an Uber. So this video is going to be a little bit of a story time video. So let's get into the video. Okay guys, so just a bit of a disclaimer before I get into this video. Although I'm going to tell you two interesting encounters with my Uber drivers, my overall experience with Uber has been super great. It's been very pleasant, and I don't really have anything to say bad about it. And I definitely do prefer it over a taxi. So, before I went to the West Coast, I have never been in an Uber before. And I've always been like kind of nervous to take one, and I also kind of don't have a reason to take one just because I drive my own car. So when I was in Vegas, my friend and I, we were going to a club and we wanted to take an Uber, and I had the app already downloaded because I was like prepared to use Uber. I was like, I need to mark this off my bucket list because, you know, every time I watch YouTube, people are like taking Ubers everywhere and people always say it's so much better than a taxi. And my first Uber ride was like really great, and he was like so talkative and friendly and funny, and it made me feel like comfortable, especially because like you don't know whose car you're getting into, so it's like a little weird at first, and especially like if you're alone. Luckily I wasn't alone. Yeah, so this guy was like super cool, and he just like kind of put Uber like on the right path in my mind for me. And the second guy was good also. And then when I got back to LA, that's when it started getting a little funky. Like I was running into very interesting Uber drivers. When I was in LA, I was with my friend, and who of which had the rental car, and just so happened to disappear for 2 days. So that left me in LA without a car, and LA is not like NYC. You can't just walk around and get anywhere you want and take subways and stuff like that. It doesn't work. He wasn't coming back. So he had the car, he disappeared, and that only left me to take Uber. And I was like really just like, I wanted to get out and explore, so I wanted to go down to the Grove and check it out because once again, always see it in videos and stuff, and I was like, oh, it sounds like a cool place, I'll go down there, blah, blah, blah. You guys will probably see all this in my vlogs when I actually get them uploaded. So I get an Uber ride there, and the Uber ride there was pretty decent. I want to say, again, like a talkative driver. I discovered that I like when my drivers talk to me just because it makes me feel like more comfortable, especially when you're in the back seat and like it's just like dead silent. You're like, okay. So when I was leaving the Grove, this is where my interesting encounters started to take place. So I requested an Uber, and it was like requesting somebody for like 2 minutes, and I thought my phone like had frozen. So I canceled it, and then like I redid the search, and then, you know, it told me, oh, your Uber's on its way. So I was like, okay, great. And then it tells you like the rating of the person coming to get you, and the rating for my person was like a 4.6. which I was nervous because all of my other drivers had like a 4.8, 4.9. So when I saw a 4.6, I was like, All of a sudden, like, you know, it says like 2 minutes away, and then like you can see like where they are in the Uber app, and like he was just like he was just sitting in one spot for like 5 minutes. So I don't know if that was like a red light or if he just like kind of like got lost and didn't know where he was going. I don't know. But anyways, then I get like a weird phone number calling my phone, and it was the Uber driver, and he's like, hello, and it was just like a really awkward conversation, and he couldn't find me. He's like, are you standing, are you sitting, like where are you near the light, can you see me? And it was like really hard to understand him. He was Chinese, and he, like, you can tell English was definitely not his first language, so it was really hard to understand him on the phone. I could like just figure out what he was saying. So he kept like asking me if I saw him, and I was like, no, I don't see you anywhere. And I was standing like right where all of the other Uber and like taxis were picking up and dropping off everybody, and he was like on the other side of the Grove, and I was like, I don't know how that happened, because like you like pin your exact location. I finally see him, and he was on the opposite side of the road, so I was like crossing the street, and like even though I was crossing the street like halfway into the road, he decided like in the middle of like all the cars to like just whip around and do like a U-turn. He just like pulled up so fast, like slammed the brakes, and I was just like, okay. We were driving and like he didn't say anything when I got in the car. He didn't say anything like the whole ride, and it was just like super awkward, and I'm assuming that the reason why he wasn't talking was because, like I said, he didn't speak English that well at all. So if you notice, most Uber drivers have their phone like mounted onto the windshield or mounted onto their like where the air conditioner vents are, like by the radio. So all of a sudden I noticed he closes out of the Uber app and then he pulls up Facebook, and as we were driving, like not even stopped, like we were moving, this guy is scrolling through his Facebook newsfeed, and I was just like what is this even allowed? Like, what are you doing? So not only was he just like scrolling through his newsfeed, but he was reading a comment, and then he was reading all the comments under the comment, and then he was like responding. And I was just like, well, I didn't say anything because I was just like, is this really happening? Like, is this my real life? Is this the end for me? Like, is this guy gonna crash? You know, he finally like put away Facebook, and we were driving, and then he started saying something to me, but like I said, he could pretty much only speak Chinese, and he was trying so hard to speak English, but I could not make out for the life of me what he was saying. What I thought he was saying was that he wanted to drop me off at the end of the block because it was faster. Like, that's what I literally thought he was saying, and I was just like, I just didn't know what to say. So I asked him to like repeat himself like 4 times, and you know, after like the 3rd time it's like really awkward, and then you usually just like shake your head and nod and you're like, haha, yeah. Well, I tried that, and then he just like turned around and like looked at me like I had 5 heads. So I was like, okay, like that didn't work. So that was interesting, and I still had no idea what he was saying, and then I think he just like gave up at that point, thank God. But we pull up, and the way the place that I rented was set up was like there was a parking garage here, and then there was a parking garage here, and my address that I put was like the address that was at this parking garage, but he stopped here. So he stops here, I like open the door, and then he's like, oh wait, it's this one, right? And like pulls up, like while I'm like half out the door, just like pulls up to the 2nd entrance, and I was like, okay. It's like, all right, have a nice night. And then that was that, pretty much. So then the next day, because, you know, my friend still hadn't come back, I was like, you know what, screw it. Like, I wanna go to Santa Monica, I wanna go to Venice, I wanna go everywhere. So I was like, you know what, let me just rent a car, because with these Uber drivers, I was like a little unsure about it. But also because I thought it would like cost me like a lot of money if I took Ubers around everywhere I wanted to go. So I was like, screw it, I'll rent a car. So the next day, obviously, like I had to call an Uber because I couldn't rent, like I had to get there, you know. So I call an Uber. His rating was like a 4.7 or something, I think. I don't even know. But he comes, picks me up. Again, an Uber driver that didn't talk, like didn't say anything. There was no radio on, so it was just dead silence. And people, obviously, like, I think it was like 12:30, or maybe actually 1 in the afternoon. So there was traffic, but not that much traffic. And this guy was literally getting full-on road rage. Like, he was like swerving around cars, like flooring it past people. And I'm just like in the back, like I was like texting one of my friends, like, oh my God, this Uber driver's crazy too. So he was just like flooring it, and then like somebody like stopped in front of him because they were trying to make a left turn, and then after they made the left turn, like they were like halfway turned, and he just like swerves around them, starts slamming down the horn and like yelling at them. And I was like oh my God, like what is going on right now? Like, it wasn't even that serious, and this guy was just like freaking out, and like I don't know, that was just like, thank God my destination was only like 1.5 miles away from where I was staying, because I don't know what would have happened if I was in there longer. Like, I really just don't know. I think he finally like composed himself and he wasn't like as crazy, and then we finally got to my destination and I got out and I went to go rent a car, and then they were like, oh, we don't have any cars for you to rent. How's a pickup truck? I freaking drove around LA in a pickup truck, okay? Like, I'm 5'2". I drive a Nissan Altima Coupe, which is a very small car. So yeah, so that was pretty much my Uber experience. But I'm glad that I rented a car that day because I went like all over the place and it was amazing. So guys, here is a word of advice from me. If you are ever in LA and you want to rent a car, number one, don't rent a car at the airport because they overcharge you so much. Number two, if you're going to rent a car outside of the airport, make sure you're there bright and early because they all run out of cars after like 12 p.m. If you guys have not taken an Uber before, I will leave my code right here, which is UberNicoleX, and you'll get your first ride for free. And no, I'm not sponsored with them by any means, but I just figure, you know, it's a way that you guys can save money on your first ride, and I think it covers like up to $15, $20. But that's pretty much it. If you like this video, then make sure to give me a thumbs up. If you've ever had a crazy Uber experience, then write down in the comments below. I'm curious to hear if anyone else has had an experience similar to myself. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I make new videos every week, and I hope to see you guys in my next one. Bye! Okay, I just had to feel like worried that I was gonna be robbed because we were waiting in line. This guy comes up to my friend and was like, oh, can you